Good evening and welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Andrew Destin alongside JC Colavita and Carlos Garcia, and we'll be breaking down the opening week of the Major League Baseball season. It was a crazy first weekend of play. Teams like the Oakland A's, the Atlanta Braves, they failed to secure a single win, but the Baltimore Orioles, they defeated the Boston Red Sox 3 straight times. Now, looking back at the opening season storylines, how have some of those big storylines from the offseason held up so far?
Well, I wanted to talk about Francisco Lindor, but unfortunately, their series against the Nationals got canceled due to COVID, so I'm going to talk about Trevor Bauer. Trevor Bauer was the 2020 Cy Young Award winner with the Cincinnati Reds last year, and he started off his Dodger career with a great performance. He threw 6 no-hit innings. In the 7th inning, he ran into some trouble, but he did what the Dodgers wanted him to do. He's not going to have to pitch perfectly this year with that prolific Dodger lineup, which is chock full of stars like Mookie Betts and Cody Bellinger. If Trevor Bauer can keep continuing pitching the way he has been in the past, and from his first start, from what I've seen, he hasn't slowed down from his performance at all, and I think you can see a lot of Bauer outages this year in Chavez Ravine.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, how about them Slam Diego Padres, am I right? Right now, they're really showing their star power and the potential that they have, and they're really going to be giving the Dodgers a run for their money in the postseason as well as the regular season. Right now, we saw the offensive star power, obviously, in Fernando Tatis, their young superstar, and the massive contract he got. But a little thing that's worrying me is that he started off this season at the plate 2 of 15. So his bat really hasn't been lighting up yet, but he has been gaining that momentum, and he has a nuke in the game versus the Diamondbacks last game. So he's really starting to heat up a little bit. And then, of course, obviously, we look at the offseason acquisitions in the bullpen with Yu Darvish and Blake Snell, and both in their first start with the Padres, they both led their team to a victory. So I think that this team is definitely showing that they're going to be a contender for the pennant, and they're going to be giving the Dodgers, once again, a run for their money.
We briefly talked about some of the unexpected performances from the likes of the A's, the Astros, the Atlanta Braves, some of those teams, but as well as those failing franchises that have raised eyebrows with some of their poor play, that they've turned things around. What were some cool moments that you guys saw this past weekend, either from really good teams, bad teams? Carlos, what did you see there?
Well, definitely. When you think about the Los Angeles Angels, I think the first person that comes to mind is obviously Mike Trout, one of the best players in the league. But if you're an Angels fan, I think a jersey that you need to buy right now is this guy, Shohei Ohtani. He's the real deal. If you look up the word dual threat in the dictionary, a picture of this guy pops up. He is no joke. On the mound, he's stellar. He's got the pitching all around. In his first start of the season, he pitched 4.2 innings. He had 7 strikeouts, and then he only allowed 2 hits. And then on the flip side, he goes to the plate and he hits a home run that went 450 feet as well with a bat speed of 115. So this guy is no joke. He's definitely going to be somebody to be looking for. He's had, in a short career, he's had a couple injuries, so he's kind of been injury prone. But definitely this year, it's going to be great to see his improvement. And he's definitely going to be a guy who's possibly going to win a Cy Young or even quite possibly an MVP in the next couple years.
So I'm going to go in a different direction here. I'm going to go with a guy you've never really probably heard of, in Yermin Mercedes. Now, he's 28 years old. He's a rookie. He bounced around the minor leagues for a little bit. He signed at 18 years old out of Dominican Republic with the Nationals, spent 3 years there, spent a year in independent league baseball. Then he spent a couple of years in the Orioles system, and now he spent a couple of years with the White Sox. Last year, he came up, got in that bat, and this year he comes up, goes 8 for 8 in his first 8 at-bats, a 5 for 5 game in his very first start. I think this is one of the best stories. And look at that smile. He's just happy to be here. And you know what? It's really fitting that his last name is Mercedes because he really is firing on all cylinders.
Interesting that you guys both took players from that White Sox-Angels series, but I'm going to side with Carlos on that one. Shohei Ohtani is the real deal, and Mercedes, I don't know that he can keep that up for a full season. But it's hard to take away too many conclusions from the opening 3 or 4 games of the season. We're going to try our best anyway. After each team made their first impressions in the 2021 campaign, JC, what were some key takeaways you had, and do you think those trends will continue the rest of the way?
Something that I really loved was the Phillies bullpen. Last year, they had the second worst bullpen ERA in MLB history with an ERA above 7. Now, these 3 guys, Archie Bradley, Jose Alvarado, and Hector Neris, are going to be the key pitchers going forward. These 2 guys, Bradley and Alvarado, they're free agent signings by the Phillies. Bradley's a seasoned veteran, and Alvarado's got crazy electric stuff. He does over 100 miles an hour. Joe Girardi, the manager, says that these 2 guys are going to be in the setup role for Hector Neris, the closer. Neris has been a little rocky over his first few years with the Phillies, but this year he's looking stellar. He's had 2 saves this weekend, and these 3 guys combined, they had 6 1/3 innings pitched. They had 11 strikeouts, and they didn't give up a single run. And I really hope this continues because the Phillies have a pretty good starting rotation and a really good lineup. And if they can put this all together, they'll have a great team for the whole year.
Yeah, it's definitely great that you talk about the Phillies because they were a team that statistically had one of the worst bullpens ever. But I'm going to talk a little bit about teams that are going to either overperform or underperform. We saw last year the 60-game season, and a lot of star players opted out due to COVID. They really didn't want to risk either getting COVID or affecting family members, whatnot. But there's going to be a lot of teams that are either going to shock or disappoint this year due to the fact that their players are really either bouncing back or trying to get back from a season in which they sat out, or there's some guys who kind of took it easy last year. A team that I'm looking at first is the Atlanta Braves. They won the NL East last year, but right now they're 0-3, and their MV3, their trio of star players, Ronald Acuna, Marcelo Zuna, and Freddie Freeman, right now they went 3 of 32 this weekend at the plate. So I think definitely this is a team that's struggling on the offensive side, and it shows because right now they have 0 wins, and they're almost at the bottom of the NL East. And then looking over, we have some teams that are blowing expectations out of water. You know, the Phillies are undefeated, the Astros are undefeated, and even the last place, or a team that's always in contention for the #1 pick, the Baltimore Orioles, they're undefeated right now. Is it a foe? Who knows? But I think definitely this is going to be the year in which the shakeups in the standings, you might see a team who hasn't made the playoffs in a couple of years. This would be the year in which you would bet on underdogs, and you're going to see a lot of shakeup in the standings towards the end of the season.
JC, you brought up some really good points about that Phillies bullpen. Alvarado from the left side throwing 100. That's pretty impressive stuff. Not sure I'm sold about Neris. He was a little shaky in the Sunday save. Got 2 walks in there, but I think it's going to be a better bullpen regardless. That's going to do it for our analysis of the first weekend of Major League Baseball in 2021. Thanks for tuning into this edition of Penn State Sports Night. For JC Colavita and Carlos Garcia, I'm Andrew Destin, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for watching this edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also, follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.